Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am going to give a book review on Brit Bennett's The Vanishing Half. This is a fantastic piece of fiction. The premise of this book when I first picked it up was there were these twin sisters from the South in the 60s. So these twin sisters who are Black, they actually are light-skinned. They escape from their small town of Mallard, and they both escaped for different reasons. I think it was a year or so later after they had left their town when they were 16. One of the sisters, her name is Stella, she decides that she doesn't want to live with her sister anymore. The sister's name is Desiree, so there's Stella and Desiree. Desiree never finds out what happens to her sister. She just left one day and she didn't know why. We follow Desiree's story first, and she ends up getting married to a Black man, and then they have a daughter who is very, very dark. Like, they describe her as if she's charcoal dark. Desiree's husband is abusive, so Desiree decides to leave her husband and go back to Mallard with her daughter, and I think her daughter was about 4 years old when this happens. And we follow the daughter, her name is Jude. In this town where she grew up, a lot of people look down on how dark she is, even though they are Black themselves. At least they're not that Black, you know what I mean? Jude has to live with this trauma throughout her life. So we follow Jude for a little while, and then we follow Stella. We find out that Stella has passed as a white woman, and what she has done is she's married a white man, like blonde hair, blue eyes, and she has this huge secret about her identity that no one knows about, not even her husband, not even her daughter. She has a daughter too named Kennedy. One of the things that I love about The Vanishing Half is it has a trans man in here as well. Why are they doing the trash at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? But in summary, this book spans generations of these women and how they've become different people because of their circumstance, and that circumstance has stemmed from their skin color. There were so many moments in here when I was feeling really tense whenever Stella was on the page. She lives in the suburbs, she's wealthy, she speaks up at this board meeting where people are worried that this Black family is going to move into the neighborhood. They don't want that. So she is actually the very one to speak up and say, this is not right. We need to uphold this community and the standard that it is. That is how we are introduced to Stella in more detail as an adult woman. And it's infuriating. Stella is acting like a white woman for so long. And part of the reason is because she denies her own self, like who she really is. She is a Black woman, but because her skin doesn't show it, she can choose to deny that part of herself and have privilege. Of course, she chooses to do just that. Brit Bennett, oh my gosh. I love the way she writes. It's like she has these subtleties. I don't know if I can find a passage. There were so many. I should have marked this book up, but I didn't want to. The way that she writes, it's so subtle how she inserts these little anecdotes. On the surface level, this book is like a family drama. What you want to happen in the end is for the two sisters to be reunited and for their daughters to know who the other person is, but it's deeper than that. The more that you read, the more pages that you go through, you get like a deeper sense of why Stella acts the way that she does, why she has assimilated to this kind of life. Everything that is revealed throughout the book is so strategically revealed. You get more of these details from events that had happened before that you didn't get during that time, and it just makes it that much richer. For example, I said in the beginning of this video that Stella and Desiree had their own reasons for leaving Mallard. We just didn't know it. One of the very first things that happens in this book that we experience as the reader is we learn of the girl's father's murder and how they were hiding in a closet and they saw him get murdered by a bunch of white men. They dragged him out and they beat him, and then he survived. He went to the hospital, and then they found him at the hospital and like stabbed him multiple times and killed him there. I think it's like revealed later that Stella saw it actually happen, but Desiree didn't see it. She kind of just like hid, but Stella was the one who saw the beating happen. That traumatic event stuck with her, and that's partially the reason why she wanted to leave Mallard. This book is so interesting because these are identical twins, and yet because one decided to become a white woman, she had different opportunities, better opportunities. They had totally different lives. And it even affected the way that Stella thought as well. Like I mentioned earlier, it was rumored that a black family was going to move into their suburbs. And so it actually happens, even though she stood up against it in the meeting. And when they move in, she actually befriends the woman. Her name is Loretta. We get inside Stella's head. She watches Loretta from her window, and she has all these negative, biased thoughts about her, even though she is black herself. So this book is about identity. This book is about racism. This book is about being a woman. It's almost like Stella's life is a bit of a performance. She always has to deal with this stress of, what if someone finds out? What if my husband looks at me one day, looks at my naked body in bed and realizes that I'm not who I say I am? Stella has this urge, this desire to just tell Loretta everything, to tell her life story, to tell her that she really is black, but she's just doing this because she's obsessed with it and she has always lied, basically. It's such a good book. So I'm going to read just a short passage from the beginning section of the book. This is when we're first introduced to Jude, who is Desiree's daughter. Her grandmother, who is also dark-skinned, even her, she's like, no, don't go out in the sun. You shouldn't get any darker. A black dot in the school pictures, a dark speck on the pews at Sunday Mass, a shadow lingering on the riverbank while the other children swam, so black that you could see nothing but her. A fly in milk, contaminating everything. So even something like that, where the grandmother, even her, even though she is dark-skinned as well, she sees having dark skin as a bad thing, which I'm sure a lot of people of color in general can relate to. And then it goes on to this boy named Lonnie, who was a white boy. They kind of had like this rendezvous, later on we'll learn about it, in like a barn, and she felt like maybe he did like her even though he treated her like crap, because it goes back to that thinking that if boys are mean to you, that they like you. Yeah, I was taught that when I was young as well. That is not true. Oh, and I just had an epiphany. So Kennedy, Stella's daughter, who looks white, she has blonde hair, blue eyes, she is the opposite of Stella. Stella is intentionally trying to pass as a white woman, and Kennedy has no idea of her identity. So she is unintentionally passing as a white woman. The fact that Stella, because she's born in the skin that she's in, decides to pass as white further proves that race is a social construct. This is such a good book. Probably one of my favorite books of 2020 so far. I highly recommend this book. Please read it. We can talk about it more on Instagram or in the comments below if you want. I'll have the copy below as always for you. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.